I never thought I'd be the kind of person to get banned from a wedding, especially not my own cousins. But I guess when your family sees you as a black sheep, all it takes is one moment, one misunderstanding, and suddenly you're the villain in everyone's story. It started 6 months ago, with a phone call I wasn't supposed to overhear. I was staying at my parents' house, just for the weekend. My younger cousin Rachel was getting married in June, and the whole family was buzzing with plans, fittings, showers, and all the Pinterest dreams come true. I was genuinely happy for her. Rachel and I grew up more like sisters than cousins. We shared bunk beds during summer trips, passed notes in class when we went to the same high school, and cried together through our first heartbreaks. That kind of bond doesn't disappear overnight, but I guess it can crack. That weekend, I got up early to make coffee before the house turned into chaos. I walked past my mom's room and heard her on the phone, laughing quietly. I paused, half out of politeness, half from habit. I didn't mean to listen. "No, we're not inviting her," my mom was saying. "It's better this way. You know how she is, always some kind of drama. Rachel needs peace, not that." There was a pause, and the other person must have said my name because Mom replied, "Yeah, exactly. Ever since the whole thing with Eric, it's just been weird. I mean, you can't blame Rachel. She probably still feels awkward. I told her she's doing the right thing." I backed away quietly. I didn't need to hear the rest. Eric, that was the sore spot. Eric had been my boyfriend. Not a fling, not a 3-month situationship. We dated for 3 years. We talked about moving in together, maybe even getting a dog. But he was also Rachel's best friend from college. They'd stayed close, and I never thought twice about it until the night I walked into her apartment unannounced and found them too close, too familiar. Her hair was in his hands. His lips were almost on hers. They didn't see me right away. That moment lives in me. I can still feel my hand tighten on the doorframe, the heat rise in my chest, and the sting of betrayal that blurred the edges of my vision. I left before they could say anything. I didn't give them the satisfaction of a confrontation. I just disappeared. I never spoke to Eric again. And Rachel? Well, she texted. A lot at first. Long apologies, short excuses, voice messages full of tears. Then silence. Then one more message that said, "I love you, but I'm in love with him." I didn't mean for it to happen this way. That was last year. So when I heard my mom say I wasn't invited to Rachel's wedding, it wasn't a shock. It was more like confirmation, the final stamp on my exile. I didn't say anything. I went into the kitchen, made my coffee, and smiled through the rest of the weekend like I hadn't heard a word. But something shifted in me after that. The thing is, when someone writes you off, when they erase you from their life so easily, it does something to your sense of self. I spent months unpacking the anger, the grief, the disbelief. I started therapy. I picked up running. I even joined a local book club. I was working on rebuilding me, not the me they saw, the messy, emotional one they whispered about, but the version of me who had survived. And then, 3 days before the wedding, I got a message from Rachel's younger brother, Noah. "Hey, I know this is weird, but I think you should come. You don't deserve to be shut out." Noah and I had always been close too. He was the little brother I never had. We used to play Mario Kart together during family holidays, and he still texted me memes every once in a while. His message made my heart race. I didn't respond right away. I stared at the screen for a long time. Was it a trap? Would showing up make things worse? Was I ready to see Eric, to see them? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't want to hide anymore. I wasn't going to be erased. So I found a simple navy dress, curled my hair the way I used to when I felt beautiful, and told myself, this isn't about them, this is about you. The wedding was at a vineyard just outside of town. Sunlight filtered through tall oak trees, and fairy lights lined the stone pathways. I arrived just after the ceremony had started. I stayed in the back, slipping quietly into the crowd. The air was full of soft music, laughter, and the scent of roses. I saw people I hadn't seen in years. A few side eyes, a few stares. My heart thudded in my chest like a drum. I kept my gaze low until I saw him. Eric. Standing at the altar in a sleek gray suit, his hands clasped nervously in front of him, he was thinner than I remembered, a little more angular, a little less sure of himself. And then, as Rachel walked down the aisle, her white dress trailing behind her like a cloud, he looked up. Right at me. Everything stopped. His face drained of color, his lips parted, and for a second I thought he might faint. His best man nudged him gently and he blinked, like he was waking from a dream. Rachel hadn't seen me yet. But he had. And I saw something in his eyes that made me feel both sick and satisfied. Regret. Deep, unmistakable regret. The ceremony went on. The music swelled, the officiant began to speak, and Rachel walked slowly toward Eric with that signature confident smile she always wore when she wanted people to believe she was in control. I watched her from the back, my fingers trembling as I held onto the tiny wedding program someone had handed me at the entrance. She didn't notice me. But Eric couldn't look away. I saw it in the way his hands twitched, the way he kept glancing toward the crowd, the way he blinked more than usual, like he was trying to convince himself I was just a ghost from the past, a trick of the light. And for the first time in months, I felt powerful. Because in that moment, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't the one people whispered about behind their wineglasses. I was the wound he never let heal properly. The vows were exchanged, rings slipped onto fingers, people clapped and cheered. Rachel beamed like she had just conquered the world, and maybe she had in a way. She had stolen the man I loved, spun her own version of events, and come out looking like the fairy tale bride. But behind that smile, God, I could see it, just a flicker, something uneasy. At the reception, I kept to myself. I stood near the back patio, sipping lemonade and watching the golden hour light paint the vineyard in soft orange. People gave me curious looks. A few relatives whispered to each other and made pointed glances, but no one approached. Except Noah. He appeared next to me with a crooked smile and a paper plate full of mini sliders. I can't believe you actually came, he said, nudging my arm. Me either, I said, letting out a shaky laugh. He looked at me for a second, then handed me one of the sliders. You look great, by the way, totally outshining the bride. I rolled my eyes. Don't say that. I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. We stood in silence for a moment, just listening to the DJ playing a slow Ed Sheeran song and the clinking of champagne glasses. Then he asked quietly, "Are you okay?" That one hit me. The kind of genuine question I hadn't heard in so long I almost forgot how to answer. I don't know, I whispered. But I'm glad I'm here. A few moments later, Rachel saw me. She was walking arm in arm with her new husband, laughing at something a guest had said. When her eyes landed on me, the laugh stopped instantly. She froze mid-step. Her grip on Eric's arm faltered for just a second, then recovered. But it was too late. Her expression cracked. I saw everything in her face at once: shock, confusion, guilt, panic. She whispered something to Eric, who stiffened. I felt every nerve in my body go taut. Rachel let go of his arm and began walking toward me. Noah glanced at me. You want me to stay? No, I said softly. Let her come. She approached, her dress swishing gently with each step. Her lips were pressed into a tight, thin line. When she stopped a few feet in front of me, her eyes glistened, but not from joy. You weren't supposed to be here, she said in a voice that barely hid the tremor. I met her gaze. I know. How did you come? Because you banned me. She blinked, clearly not expecting that. I was trying to protect the day, keep the peace. By pretending I don't exist? Her eyes darted around, making sure no one was too close. This is my wedding, and you're making a scene. I'm standing quietly in the back, you're the one who walked over. A pause. Then she said something I'll never forget. You always need to make everything about you. I laughed. It wasn't cruel, just tired. Rachel, you made everything about me when you got with my boyfriend. Wasn't yours anymore. Because you took him. Her eyes flashed. You left? Because I walked in on you two about to kiss, I said, voice shaking now. Do you even remember that night? Do you remember how much I cried? How I moved out of our apartment in 3 hours flat and never asked either of you for anything again? She flinched like I'd slapped her. I loved him, she whispered. I loved me too, I said, and I wasn't going to stay where I wasn't respected. Behind her, Eric stood frozen. He hadn't moved a muscle. His eyes were locked on us, unreadable. Rachel noticed my glance and turned, saw him staring. Something passed between them, something brittle. She turned back to me and said, I want you to leave. I took a breath, lifted my chin. No. She looked like she might cry. You're ruining everything. I'm not here for you, Rachel. I'm here for me. For the part of me that deserved to be heard, the one you erased. She took one step forward, opened her mouth, and Eric was suddenly beside her. I need to speak to her, he said. Rachel looked at him, betrayed. Alone, he added. She hesitated, then turned and walked away. The silence between us was suffocating. Eric finally spoke. I didn't know you'd be here. I wasn't invited. He nodded slowly, guilt painting every inch of his face. I never stopped thinking about you. I narrowed my eyes. You sure had a funny way of showing it. I didn't cheat on you. I raised my eyebrow. I wanted to, he admitted, looking down. I thought about it, but that night, when you saw us, we hadn't kissed yet. But I knew, and you knew. That's worse, I said. You wanted it, you chose not to stop it. He rubbed his face like he was trying to wake up from a bad dream. I never loved her like I loved you. I felt something snap inside me, the nerve of him. Then why did you marry her, I asked, nearly trembling. He didn't answer. And I realized he didn't know, or maybe he did and he just couldn't admit it. I took a deep breath. You made your choice, I said, stepping back, live with it. And then I walked away. I walked through the vineyard with my head high. Not because I had won anything, not because I had some dramatic final word that crushed them, but because, for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel ashamed. I didn't feel like a shadow in someone else's fairy tale. I found a quiet bench near the edge of the field, just as the sun was setting behind the hills. The sky was a swirl of orange, lavender, and gold. I sat down and finally let myself cry. Not a loud, angry cry, but a quiet, soft one. The kind that seeps out from years of being misunderstood, overlooked, rewritten in someone else's version of the story. Rachel didn't come after me. Eric didn't either. And that, more than anything they could have said, told me everything I needed to know. A little later, Noah came out with 2 cupcakes and sat beside me without a word. I saw you walk away, he said after a moment. Yeah, I think I needed to. He handed me the chocolate one. I saved the good one for you. Rachel's favorite was the lemon, but you always hated that one. That made me laugh through my tears. He glanced at me. So, was it worth it? I thought about it, about everything. The look on Eric's face, Rachel's trembling hands, the way I didn't shatter when they tried to erase me. Yeah, I said, it was. Noah leaned back on the bench, looking up at the sky. You know, I always hated how everyone treated you like you were the problem. You were the only one honest enough to be messy in public. The rest of them just buried it. I don't want to be messy anymore, I whispered. I want peace. He nodded. Then don't let them steal that from you. We sat there until the music from the reception started to fade, until the vineyard lights turned soft and sleepy, until my heart didn't hurt so much anymore. And when I left that night, I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I just walked out quietly, calm, certain. I knew I wouldn't be invited to the next family event, maybe not even the holidays, and that used to scare me, the idea of being cut off. But not anymore. Because I'd finally cut off the part of me that begged to be accepted by people who only loved me when I made them comfortable. And I replaced it with something better, my own damn peace. I drove home with the windows down, the warm summer air rushing through the car, the stars stretching out above me. Somewhere along the road, a song came on the radio I used to love but hadn't heard since before the breakup. I let it play, singing softly through the lump in my throat, like reclaiming a piece of myself. I didn't get closure from Rachel. I didn't get an apology from Eric. But I got something even better. I got the truth. The truth that I didn't need them to validate my pain. I didn't need to be part of their polished, picture-perfect narrative. I didn't need to be invited to stand tall. I just needed to show up for myself. And that was more than enough. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this. Your support helps more voices like mine get heard.